And I will not spend much more time. So we have an awesome keynote from Maurits Hendriks. This is actually super huge to have Maurits here today. So Maurits is the architect of national, international, Olympic, and Paralympic performance success, right? We have a track record of 144 medals won. So this is huge. Please, round of applause for our first keynote. Please.
Thanks. Thank you, Dimitri. Hi, guys. Good to see everybody here. It doesn't matter what time we start. We're going to make it a super day. I'm incredibly excited to be here. Thanks to NumFocus and PyData for inviting me. Because what times are we living in? And what industries are you working in? That is just super exciting. It is also super responsible. It also comes, I think, with enormous challenges, huge pitfalls that one can stumble into. So yeah, I envy you on one side, and on the other side I'm thinking, okay, it's a serious job you guys have ahead of you. But it is exciting, and thanks NumFocus and PyData for having me. Why am I here? I thought about it when I started talking to the organizers of this conference, which was, I think, already 4 or 5 months ago. And the main driver is that I've always thought that if you're in high performance, and I don't know anything else, I tried to study law for a few years, but failed miserably as a law student, because I was drawn into the one thing that is the passion of my life, and that's coaching teams and coaching young people, young athletes, to the best that they can ever be. And that best is usually a lot further than they themselves think. I'm convinced that everyone is capable of things that you yourself might not think you're capable of. I've seen it happen for 25, 30 years in my career, and it is amazing what you can get to. So what links me to your world? It's very simple. If you try to make the best of something, get the best out of a team, then that means you have to do everything. And I was convinced as a young coach that I have a responsibility to my athletes to use every possible technology that is available in the world to help them become that best. And of course, that has accelerated over the last 10 years. The importance and the opportunities of technology are huge. Then again, I am not an ITC expert by nature. I'm a coach. I work with people. So what I want to do, I want to share some lessons with you of the many mistakes that I made, and I hope you can benefit of it. Yeah, it does work. So if we look at all the things that are happening, it is amazing. It is amazing. If some of the examples you see here, a system developed by Fujitsu, which is truly going to help global sport to become more fair. If you look at gymnastics at the Olympics, one of the most difficult and skillful sports that I've ever seen. But how do you judge it? And the winner is decided by judges. How do you judge movements that these incredible athletes make on whether it's the parallel bars, whether it's the beam, whatever disciplines there are in gymnastics? It's almost impossible to judge. And with this system, that system is capable. For instance, if you look at this specific skill, the ranking, the points you get if you're on the beam, let's say in an Olympic final, the points you get in this specific technique that is executed has to do with the distance between the heel and the back of the head. Now, I don't know if you've seen this being performed live. This goes so fast, it's almost impossible to see with the human eye. So if you want to judge this fairly, obviously an AI system that measures this real time will help you making it a fair judgment. So the technologies are going to not only improve performance, I'm convinced of that, but it's going to make it a more fair playing field. How great is that? If you look at how personalized technology is coming, how personalized dashboards are becoming because of sensor technology or whatever, I really enjoyed this one. It's called by Zone 360. It's not big yet, but it is unbelievable. I tested it when I still coach, but my children now left the Olympic arena a while ago. But yeah, as a coach, when you're working with a group of people for, let's say, an hour of a practice, you have a plan, you've got your session written out, but do you actually stick to your plan? Do you use the right words? And this little contraption is on your phone, of course, it's in your pocket, and it listens to you while you're doing your training session and gives you feedback on the key terminologies that you have used, but also on the tone of voice. So that is absolutely unbelievable, and it will help you improve as a coach. It will accelerate your personal development. There are many. Are there people from Dell Technologies here? Seeing that you're, can I congratulate you with the world title? World Championships Formula One, well done, well done. Of course, great drivers and a great driver that won the championship. But let's face it, if there is one sport where technology plays a huge role, then it is Formula One. And Dell Technologies being a key partner to the McLaren team, super. But of course, it's Oracle for our Dutch guy, Max Verstappen, with Red Bull Racing. And there's no Formula One without that technology. One of the examples that got to me here, which I thought was unbelievable, you know, Formula One is becoming, like all high-performance sport, it is becoming more and more about the details. I showed you the example of gymnastics. It's almost impossible to determine who the winner is. You know that there are swimming competitions in the Olympics where athletes are hitting the finish board at the end of the pool so close that technology is impossible to measure who has won, which means that they are within a thousandth of a second. The technology can only measure up to, I don't know what it is, 50 thousandths of a second. Because if they would make the technology more sensitive, then the board would act to water waves, and it would not determine the right winner. So if you look at the margins, it is becoming almost impossible to measure. Now, the whole essence of sport is who comes over the finish line first. Super example of Red Bull, who in that arena that is becoming so competitive, you have more and more appeals. You even have appeals during a race that is going on, and they'll give you, like happened yesterday, a 5-second grid penalty or whatever. Now, for these teams to be able to see whether they should appeal during the race, they have, like, I think the window of FIA is 15 minutes. That means that they have to take the actual situation that they are being penalized for, hold it against the regulations, which of course is a stack of papers, and determine in no time whether their appeal has a chance. Well, Oracle had already developed something similar for huge legal firms in the world, where if you have international mergers, you need to take the legal system of one country and all the contracts and all the stipulations that are active in that nation and compare it to the nation of the other company that are merging. Now that is an absolute impossible job. Of course, they had developed something already, an agent that is capable of doing that much faster and much more precise. So that technology is used in Red Bull Racing. There are many examples. I worked with the best football club, the greatest football club in the Netherlands. I'm sure that here in Eindhoven it's not seen that way. I still believe that, Ajax. And we had a technology partner, was called Acronis. And in 2 years' time, we were able to develop, through a computer vision system, a real-time intelligence that would advise the game of the best next action to take. So it wasn't only predictive, it was prescriptive already. It was about 3 years ago. We didn't use it because the coaches weren't ready for it. But this is what it looked like. And there's no human involved. I'm not going to say there's no human in a loop. The system just looks at the game and determines which are the best 2 areas in the field to continue the play, which will give you the highest possible outcome. So super examples. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about all the mistakes I made in life. Because if you see where you guys are at, the technologies that you are developing, then in the end what matters is, are you going to have what it takes? Are you going to keep your eye on the ball? And are you going to deliver the product that the world is actually waiting for, or that your organization has set out? And what should you keep focus on? So how do you show up and deliver? Plans, I've read gazillions. Good ideas, I've heard millions. The ones that have it connected to a real outcome and do that within a time frame are very few. And one of the most important lessons I learned through this great athlete, Daphne Schippers. She was a heptathlon athlete in the Netherlands that thought, okay, winning a gold medal with heptathlon is incredibly difficult, 7 disciplines in athletics. So she decided to focus and kind of transfer into becoming a sprint athlete. Now, if you look at the sprint distances, let's be honest about it, there are not many ethnically white athletes that win sprint races because of their build, because of how their bodies, how many fast twitch fibers they have. So to try to achieve becoming world champion in a 100-meter sprint or 200-meter sprint is a high bar that you're setting for yourself. And I connected to her and went and looked her up at the IMG training center in Florida when she was working through this transition of becoming the best sprinter in the world, the fastest woman in the world. And there were a lot of things that we had to tackle. There is a lot of data that you can gather if you talk about a 100 or a 200-meter sprint. And there is, of course, a lot of data that you can gather about that person, about her physics. Now, which data matters? And one of the things that I've seen going wrong is that people started focusing on all the different data that they could collect, and they forgot to focus on the end goal. And the end goal was really simple: become the fastest person ever. So one of the main things, however simple it is, you need to keep a constant eye on what the end goal is. You want to become the fastest person. Now I have a video here. Look at the video and tell me what you see. Building it up.
Klaar.
So, the first 30 meters of, excuse me, the 200-meter dash, what do you see? She doesn't run in a straight line. Now, is that good? Ah, there we go. So, the difficulty in this sport is that if one toe touches the white line, you're automatically disqualified. So imagine years and years of practice, you run one final, one of your toes touches the white line, you're out. So this is a serious issue. Now, how do you correct this? I mean, obviously, if the coach would say, well, you're moving to the left, you should stay in the middle. Yeah, perfect. What do I have to do? Not a good coach, correct. So here it starts. I want to become fastest. It's important that I stay in the middle of my lane. Which data matters? Now what you see here is a system called OptoJump. And when we started talking with the coach about which data do we need to gather to help this athlete become the best that she can be. And they figured out that in the sprint, there are many, of course, many parameters that you can influence. One is pass length, and the other is pass speed. So you can work with how far you put your feet out, how long your pass is, and how fast do you hit the ground. Now, that means that you need to measure contact time of every feet and the centimeters that the pass length has. And those two combine. Now now it becomes interesting. That is relevant data, okay? And in the end, that'll produce speed. You'll have a lot of coaches that are standing there with a stopwatch, and they're measuring the first 10 meters and the second 10 meters and then 30-meter mark and 50-meter mark. But what is actually relevant is contact time and pass length. Well, there was luckily a system. I still to this day know how much it costs. It costs 30,000 per 10 meters. And they said to me, when they first came to me, they said, we need 100 meters. I said, well, I don't think so, not now. But we worked together with the coaches and with Daphne to make sure that we got this system so that she could get the feedback that she needed. So always keep that end goal in line. Now, if you talk about how does this work, I often say the end goal, becoming world champion, is of course why you do it. You want to become like Gareth said, the biggest PyData conference, but that is nice. I always say, good, it's important that you know it. You need to dream it. But we take it and we put it into a safe deposit box. And we don't open that box. Because it doesn't help if you tell yourself every day, I want to become world champion. What helps is to think about, how long should my pass be? What should the contact time of my feet be? And if you continue to tell yourself, no, I want to be world champion. People that say that all the time in interviews will never become world champion. The ones that don't say it, and they've put it in the safety deposit box, those are the ones that will become world champion. So that is a really important one. You have a dream, you have an ambition, great, strikt eromheen, and in the class. And then you plan. You plan. And that's where it becomes important. Now, when you go out and solve all the different challenges that you have, there are a few things that I have learned help. If you look at these 4 pictures, what do you see? What are the differences? Clearly, 4 sports. What is the similarity between the 4 pictures? The start. Super. So focus either on the differences or focus on the similarity. The similarity here is the start. So what we did, we had several sports in the Netherlands. Here you can see where the Netherlands is Olympic final level. So these athletes are good enough, they'll make it to the Olympic final. And some of these here have become Olympic champion. So they all have to solve the issue of the start. And to do that, instead of putting them or leaving them in their splendid isolation, I took the coaches of these 4 completely different sports and put them together in the room and have them discuss the issue of the start. And you know what they found? Of course, you can focus on the different movements and the different individual aspects of the athletes. But what they found, that there was one thing that they all had in common. And that was that there was a relation between the facial expression at the start and how fast they were. Try to picture this. If somebody stands at the start like this, how good is that start going to be? Not too good. If he stands like this. So one can imagine that there is a relationship between these two. Okay? Now again, this is for me the science of determining which data is relevant, because you can get lost in that jungle and put different people from different disciplines together, cross silos, or however you want to translate it to your world, can give you really interesting outcomes. Now, to be able to get something out of that, you do need to have the right mindset. And we had so many discussions with my team, with the different sports, all performing at a really high level. And they all came to us with, which sounded like super plans that they all wanted funding for, of course. And one of the phrases that became like a one-liner that was repeated often was said by one of the guys on my team. And he once said to a top coach that had pitched an elaborate plan of how they were going to make it to the top, he says, "Great plan, we're not going to do it." And that is a simple line, but it is incredibly important. And the reason he said that is because he was constantly looking at how relevant is it what they do, what is the relationship to the end goal that they want to achieve. So, be open-minded, and if you step into a room where you're going to work cross sectors or cross departments, be honest and say, okay, it might be that the other guy's idea is better than my idea. So I can't go into the room with the idea that I'm going to come out having convinced everybody that my plan is the best plan. Go into the room thinking, okay, the other guy's plan might actually be a better plan. Okay, that's easy said, not so easily done, especially with egos. It's also why I always think that the best teams are mixed gender. It just balances things out a little bit more, and egos are being put aside a little bit easier. Now, of course, I can't help but go back to being the coach. That is really, I think, my passion, my vocation. It is what I love doing most. And if I then look at all the developments that are going on, I am seeing huge challenges, enormous pitfalls, and I don't know how to tackle them yet. I was, the last month, I was on a committee in the Netherlands that had to judge 12 innovation calls for funding, and the call was written out by the Dutch government. It was about 80,000 for the best idea. We could select 5, and the idea was that all these ideas, these innovation plans, had to have the goal of contributing to better medal performances in LA 2028. And it was interesting to see that all of them, of course, had AI agents as one of the things that they were going to add to the mix. And they were all going to build dashboards. Well done. I can't see another dashboard. Because what they sell you is fiction. They're going to tell you that in that dashboard, you'll have everything that you need to know, and you're going to be able to take better decisions. Now, let's focus on that one. Let's zoom in on that one a little bit. And all these words mean probably more to you guys than they do to me. And you're very familiar with these issues, I am sure. But if you take something like context integrity, I have seen dashboards that are completely decontextualized. There's tons of data in that dashboard, but nobody can explain to me how they weigh the different data sources. Nobody can explain to me how it relates to the outcome, our end goal, becoming faster. So, yeah, not so easy. And a simple sentence in a world where we have data privacy laws, where things has to be anonymous, Do you know how many people in the Netherlands can run 200 flat women under 22 seconds? One. So how's that for data anonymity? It's impossible. If you look at the performance level of these athletes, you can't anonymize data. It's impossible. So issues like that are very complex, I think. And I've made it into a rule. If you cannot show me the context of your dashboard data, I'm not even considering discussing it with you. That needs to be very, very clear from the beginning. Now, high signal noise clarity. What matters? Not all metrics matter. Not all metrics matter. And I'm seeing these enormously sexy build dashboards. Whoop is a good one. You've got a company, Sprint AI, builds dashboards for almost all the sport franchises in the world, NFL, ice hockey, NBA basketball. Super. When I talk to coaches, the one thing that I see with the real good ones is they look at the athlete. And if they're going to use data to have the athlete do something else, they can't take a bet. They need to look this athlete in the eye and says, I've looked at this, and I think that this means we should take a left turn here. He's not going to do that based on a dashboard where he cannot figure out how the conclusion was reached. So this topic, of course, this is high-performance sport, and I understand if you look at general populations, of course there are dashboards that have value. But this is something that I think is being overlooked. And the other thing that concerns me, and I'm not going to be negative about you guys, not at all. I just congratulated Dell Technologies. I know the value that super data analytics have in sports. But what I do see is that it's driven by big tech, which is why before I actually know what PySports is doing, I already embrace it because it's open source. And it's not a for-profit platform. Because I see that a lot of sports are being overwhelmed by the power of big tech coming in with incredibly powerful solutions without having a clue of what goes on under the hood. So, I am concerned. I do find it exciting, though. Let's go back to the lessons that I learned. This is a very important one. It's brilliant to see when you talk to a team, athletes that are preparing for the Olympics. And by the way, the ones that win it are the ones that start preparing 12 years to 8 years ahead of time, not the ones that say, LA is in 2 years, I'm going to win a medal. So the interesting thing here is, and again, it was a quote by one of my team members. He says, the ones that haven't figured out yet that the Olympics are not every 4 years, but they are every day, they are not going to make it. That is a key asset. Every day has to be planned in a way that it contributes to your end goal. So a day not learned, a day not performed is a day lost. You have too many days lost, you're never going to win it. Now, I want to share with you an example that I had. I was invited to do a keynote in New Zealand after the Rio Olympics. New Zealand and the Netherlands were close for many reasons. We're not the biggest countries in the world, but we do like sport, and we're pretty damn good at it too. So are the Kiwis. And they had a boat that won the gold medal. Took and Burling were the two sailors. And they did their debrief in this summit that they organized after the Rio Games. And I was just taken by it because it was so simple. They had become world champion 2 years in a row and then won the gold. So that means for 3 years they just dominated the field. How did they do that? Because I have a lot of respect for people that win something big in their lives once. I admire the ones that win it every time. Because serial winning is a different thing. You've got athletes that won the gold medal, and the rest of their lives they're going to give that one keynote about how there was talent times effort times, I don't know, pain, and that got to the gold. No, the ones that do it every time again, those are the ones that you learn from. And these guys are with it, because Burling went on next year to captain the America's Cup boat of New Zealand in the America's Cup final and won it. I think he was 23 at the time, or 22. Unbelievable. And when they shared with me how they made the Olympics every day, they came up with this little list of 5. This is what they do after every meeting, every training, and every competition that they sailed. So sometimes they did this twice a day. They sat down after their session, what worked well, what did not work well, what surprised you, what did our opponents do better, and what are we going to do next day? It is very simple, but they do this every day. They don't miss a day. Of course, Olympic athletes this level, they don't have a 5-day working week. They have a 7-day working week, and every now and then they take an evening off. So for them, this is every day. I thought it was so simple, but so spot on. Now the other one, and this is not so easy, you need to learn to embrace your defeat. I've become more convinced of this than ever before. And for the ones that don't know me, I have tumbled. I have ran into doors. I've been blamed for things that I always thought, I hope my mother doesn't read this. And I've been at the dark side of performance sport. And it is amazing how people that continue to be successful are the ones that embrace defeat. They look a loss. They look the beast in the mouth. They don't shy away from it. They don't share with you. They're miserable, first of all. They're not happy people after they lost. So the pain is visible. They don't like to lose. But they allow for the pain. It's visible with them. And then they sit down and they're going to honestly almost do those 5 questions. So where do their acceleration, where does their improvement come from? Does it come from success after success? No, it comes from what they learn from their losses. And however big a champion you are, most champions have lost far more matches, competitions, than they have won. These are the ones that win regularly. So you need to be able to handle defeat. That is really important. And again here, it has a lot to do with how you handle victory. So I was quite impressed, to be honest, with Max Verstappen this weekend. I thought he was the example, and I've known Max for some time. He wasn't the most pleasant one, not when he won and not when he lost. But yesterday, he was humble in victory. I find that incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. You don't have to raise your voice when you won. That is the moment that you keep your feet, both your feet planted on the ground. So it's humble in victory, which for me is important. And it's the awareness of the fact that the lessons that you can learn are not in your great success. So don't go out and make PowerPoints of all the wonderful achievements that you have done with this project and you became successful. Make a PowerPoint about the pitch you lost or about the project that didn't make it in time. Because that's where the lessons are. Embrace that, so to say. Right. For that, I think one of the vital things for organizations, people to become successful, is openness and honesty. And if I look at the sports setting, I'm aware of the fact that it's easier, I think, to manage a dressing room than it is to manage a boardroom. And yet there are comparisons there to be made, I think. Now, the great thing about locker rooms, dressing rooms, is that it is accepted in that setting, and I'm sure all of you have been in a dressing room, a locker room somewhere, some of you maybe even in high-level sports. It is accepted there that if we close the door, what is being said there stays inside the locker room. It stays within the team. That is an unspoken norm. The other thing that is accepted is that if we close the door, it is okay to tell each other the truth. The question is that how it works in the boardroom? So is it accepted that you tell the truth, that you are entirely honest to the person next to you? Will you tell your CEO everything that's on your mind? I don't think that happens enough. So serenity and safety of a locker room is something that builds the confidence for people to share. Now, the other thing is, are you open enough, are you vulnerable enough to allow other people to be critical of what it is that you're doing? Only that way we will become more as a team. We don't become more as a team just by putting 11 individuals of high-level talent into the same team, nor is it going to work with you guys. It works whenever we have, with these 11, the right mindset. So if we're willing to listen to each other and we're willing even to take very strong advice, and of course if you translate it to competition, it's easy. If you take one of the center defenders, the center defender will not ask you or will not explain to you that it is probably statistically better that you move a little bit further to the left to be closer to your opponent. He'll say, left, period. So it is of course a different setting. Now, I call this, what do we need here? We need courageous conversations. So we need to be able to stand up within that setting of your team, your project team, your leadership team, whatever, and say, okay, guys, this is the goal. Remember, the end goal. We never lose sight of the end goal. We can get there in many different ways, and I don't have to explain this to you guys. You are the guys that work in sprints and are agile and so on. So we need to keep it up, but we can get there in many different ways. What is important is that we are willing to have the courageous conversations, to confront each other with the things that might not be going well. Now, to do that, you need to be clear on a few guidelines, a few guardrails. You can think of them yourself. So, of course, you can't go in with guns nor knives. Those are obvious. There can't be any blaming or shaming. There can be naming, but no blaming and shaming. So I name what you have done. I don't shame you. And I also don't blame you. I just share what I see. That's one thing. The other thing that is important is the difference between contribution and attribution. You go back to your own setting. You remember a situation where you confronted a colleague with something that might not have gone so well, and the first answer is, yeah, but there was a traffic jam, and I just couldn't make it. Or, yeah, you know, I was supposed to get this from them, and I didn't get it, so yeah. Attribution. So people that go somewhere else first, instead of, okay, what is it that you're saying? Maybe I didn't understand it correctly. Maybe I didn't do that well. No, you've got a point. And I should have done that. Thanks for the advice. That is keeping it with you. And this is a very difficult dynamic to reach. But this, for me, is the openness, the honesty. This is what makes a locker room talk so incredibly effective. You got 10 minutes. I've coached 3 Olympic finals. Um, and a final never goes the way that you want them to go, believe me. So you come into the locker room at halftime, you effectively have 7 minutes to produce a change within your team. So it can only work through openness and directness and honesty. And it can only work if your team is willing to have that open mind. So yeah, those are some of the most important lessons that I want to learn, that I want to share with you. Let's go back at them one by one again. Make sure that whenever you're involved with a huge ambition, an enormous plan of building something, of doing something, that you know where your end goal came from, because it was your dream, it was your ambition. You put it in the safety deposit box, but you never forget it's there. Okay? Then you start working, planning, and everything you do has to contribute to your end goal, becoming faster. If it doesn't, be honest, don't do it. The road to get there can be many. Can be left, right, center. There are so many different roads to Rome. You need to know that if you are collecting data, that you can prove. If they wake you up at night and they say, why is it relevant for our end goal? There needs to be one line and you're going to tell me it's because 1, 2, 3. So if you don't have that, you're losing your time. The answers sometimes lie next door, and your answer sometimes isn't the best. So be graceful in the fact that somebody can tell you, great plan, we're not going to do it, because his plan is better. And if you don't have success, and something fails, or you just didn't get where you wanted to get, be happy. Embrace that one. That is where your true lessons lie. They do not lie in your victories. They lie in the moments that you're falling flat on your face. And learn from them. And last but not least, be ready to have courageous conversations. I once heard from which I thought was one of the greatest leaders I've met. He and I had a talk about this, and he was leading a change project within his organization. And I've always had difficulties with the fact that as a leader, you're supposed to be the example. Well, I am anything but perfect. According to my wife, there are many, many things that I don't do well. So to constantly look at yourself as a leader saying, well, I'm the example and my entire team has to follow me because look at me, I do the right thing. I don't do the right thing all the time. But what I will do is whenever I see something in my team, in my organization that isn't right, I'll stand up. And let me share with you once, because you have all been here. Remember a moment where you came into the coffee area of your organization and you were hearing the ones standing there at the coffee machine talking about somebody else and bad-mouthing I don't know who and this and it was their fault. You have all been there. Did you stand up, walk to them and say, guys, this is not how we communicate here? Probably not all the time, because that is difficult. What you walk by will become the norm. Remember that one. Because each and every one in an organization has that responsibility. It is the leader, so as a leader, you can never walk by something that is not right. You need to speak out. I have led Ajax on the board for 2 years in the most difficult time, and it was in the time that we came from a sexual harassment case. And I spoke to about 20 women that had been the victim of that. And I was I found it very difficult to be able to, how do I say it, transfer what they shared with me into the right policies for the company. And the one thing that I went back to is that whenever I saw, and let me tell you, if you work in football, the jokes that men make about women, there are plenty every day. So I told myself one thing. Whenever I walk in and I hear a joke like that, I will say, guys, this is not helpful. Rephrase that one, please. And that is difficult. Why? Because I can tell you, you don't become the most popular person in that organization if you do that. But that is the one thing that we can do. What you walk by will become the norm. Just a few lessons for you guys. Enjoy the day. And last but not least, I promise that whatever questions there are, please feel free to throw them out here and tackle me on whatever. Thank you so far.
Yeah, it was a great talk. It was super inspiring. I hope everyone agrees. So do we have questions from the audience? Yes, there? Throw the ball.
Ooh, tempting. You're going to make it. You're going to make it. There we go. Well done. Yeah. Yeah, let's start with an easy question. Wow. I think what you are addressing is a top 3 issue for me at the moment. So the fact that you connect, and I'm doing it in my own words, global developments, and especially global technology developments, and you connect into, for instance, ethical guardrails, I think is a top 3 issue at the moment. And one of the things that I see why it's so difficult is because we in the Netherlands, and all of you, even the ones that aren't from here, know that we really like to point our fingers with the Dutch. No, this is, no, we don't do it like that. We're a bit all the morale ridders of the world. And one of the things I found out, that of course doesn't work. This is a global issue, and we have to look at this from a very diverse cultural background. And we need to actually go back to, maybe I'm an idealist, to what was done after the Second World War, where we agreed with the world on basic human rights. And I think there should be something like basic ethic guardrails for the use of technology, which is independent of culture. And if you look at the discussions that are going on about autonomic systems, then the issues become bigger still. So your point, I don't have an answer. I do agree with you that it is very important. And I actually do think that this should be a global debate about what can we agree on. That we say, okay, this is where we draw the line. Of course, if I look at it from, and I take it back to my own organization, we just started 2 weeks ago, we launched the Sport AI Foundation, which is going to also work globally. And one of the areas that we would like to play a role in the world is to help organizations having this debate, having this dialogue, and do that before you start building agentic AI for your key processes. Do this one first. That would be my only advice. And of course, I have a checklist for myself of which issues should be the topic of that dialogue. Good question.
Do we have more questions?
Yes, here, you're going to catch it. All right, good.
What is your dream goal? I don't know. Really? Yeah, I don't know. Or you're not telling? No, I really don't know. I'm sure you have a dream. You wouldn't be sitting here if there wasn't something there that you would like to aspire to. But where does it come from? I don't think that there's one thing. I happen to believe that dreaming and being honest about what you dream is very powerful. I don't think we always share our dreams, and it is okay, whatever it is. But I'm sure that every person has something that they feel inspired by, or that they would like to achieve. And I've often had the discussions within my team. We try to build a national talent identification system. So not just for one sport, but in general for the entire Netherlands. And I spoke with the Ministry of Education. We have cognitive tests in the Netherlands, CITO tests, that we do with children to basically establish their academic talent, if you like. So I spoke to the ministry because I would really like to do that with all children in the Netherlands for their motorical and athletic talent. Why? Because it will help us as a society guide them towards an area that they can be successful in, whichever it is. And I don't care which sport it is. So here it's the same. It doesn't really matter what it is, but I do believe that the most powerful thing is for all of you to dream about something, however far-fetched it might be, and about whatever topic it is. That is, in the end, the strongest driver. Of course, if you look at some professional athletes, there is also some guiding. So there are some professionals here that say, listen, I know that this is your dream, but this is actually where your talent lies. So you can have the most powerful thing without question is your dream goal.
Okay, yes, we unfortunately need to go forward in our program. So, but Maurits will be here the entire day, as far as I know. So
I am, because I'm looking forward to some of the presentations for today, and feel free to address me at any time about any topic. Thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy.
So yeah, it was a super nice